At first, I only wanted to rest for a while. Just one day without pressure, one day without thinking about life. And that small room felt comfortable. It felt safe, as if the world outside had stopped for a moment. There were no expectations, no eyes judging me, no voices telling me to move faster. So I started spending more time in my room, ignoring invitations, delaying messages, delaying responsibilities, delaying my own life. And without realizing it, that room slowly changed, from a place to rest into a place where I disappeared. But my life stayed exactly the same. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. Wake up, stare at a screen, eat whatever was nearby, sleep too early or too late, then repeat everything again. Sometimes, I didn't even know what day it was anymore. Day and night started feeling the same. My sleep schedule collapsed. My body felt tired all the time. And strangely, I kept repeating everything anyway. The world kept moving. People went to work, went to college, built relationships, built their future, while I just sat silently inside the same room. And the longer I lived like that, the more left behind I felt, as if everyone else was moving forward while I stayed frozen in place. Sometimes I would stare at the ceiling for hours, thinking about everything I wanted to become, and somehow doing absolutely nothing about it. That was the strangest part. I was aware of my own destruction, but awareness alone was never enough to save me. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "If you stare into the abyss for too long, the abyss begins to stare back at you." And maybe the internet is the greatest abyss of modern humanity, a place where people come to escape, but slowly lose themselves instead. So I searched for distractions, games, anime, movies, endless short videos, scrolling until sunrise, fantasy, anything that could silence my mind for a while. Because when the screen was on, I didn't have to face my own life. I didn't have to think about the future. I didn't have to think about failure. I didn't have to think about the fear that maybe I would never become anyone. And strangely, the digital world started feeling more real than my actual life. I could laugh at videos, feel connected to fictional characters, feel alive while playing games. But when the screen turned off, everything became empty again. And maybe that's why people keep scrolling. Not because they're happy, but because silence forces people to hear themselves think. There were nights where I kept refreshing the same applications without even knowing what I was looking for. Video after video, song after song, conversation after conversation, just trying to escape that unbearable feeling of being alone with myself. And the worst part was, I could feel time disappearing, slowly, quietly, like water leaking from a cracked glass. Days stopped feeling important. I stopped caring about mornings, stopped caring about my appearance, stopped caring about the future. Everything became temporary. Everything became numb. Blaise Pascal once said, "All of humanity's problems come from man's inability to sit quietly alone in a room." But ironically, nowadays, many people spend too much time alone in quiet rooms, until eventually, peace turns into loneliness, and loneliness, when left alone for too long, begins to consume people from the inside. Slowly, I started changing. Talking to people became exhausting. Replying to messages felt heavy. Going outside felt unfamiliar. Even the sound of crowded places started becoming unbearable. I became too comfortable being alone, too comfortable hiding, too comfortable living inside my own head. And maybe that was the most dangerous part, because humans can get used to anything, even their own destruction. In Japan, there's a term called Hikikomori, people who isolate themselves from society for months, sometimes even years. They aren't truly dead, but slowly, they stop living. And sometimes, I feel like I'm walking toward the same fate. Sometimes I look into the mirror and feel like I'm staring at a stranger. My face is still the same, but something feels missing, as if I'm still alive, but no longer truly present. Every day felt empty, but strangely, I kept repeating everything, again and again and again, because maybe people are not always searching for happiness. Sometimes they're only searching for a way to stop feeling pain for a moment. And in the middle of all that silence, something started growing inside me, something difficult to explain. Not sadness, but emptiness. An emptiness, slowly consuming everything. My motivation, my energy, my curiosity about the world, even my ability to care about myself. Carl Jung once said, "Everyone carries a shadow." And the longer I ignored that darkness, the bigger it grew. Inside the silence, I started feeling numb, emotionless, as if I was only living because time kept moving forward. I didn't wake up because I wanted to live. I woke up because morning kept coming. Sometimes I knew I needed to change, but my body felt frozen. Even small things became difficult. Taking a shower felt exhausting. Replying to messages felt terrifying. Opening my bedroom door felt like facing another world. And the strangest part was that nobody truly knew what was happening inside my head, because from the outside, I only looked like a lazy person, when in reality, there was a war inside my own mind. There were nights where I genuinely believed my life would never change, nights where I stared at my phone until sunrise, just to avoid being alone with my thoughts, because deep down, I knew something inside me was collapsing, and I was terrified to look directly at it. Sometimes, I missed the version of myself that used to dream about the future, but somewhere along the way, that version slowly disappeared. Søren Kierkegaard once said, "The most common form of despair is not being who you truly are." The void did not come from outside. It grew from within me, from every fear I kept avoiding, from every failure I never faced, from all the time I spent running away. I truly realized that I was drowning. And strangely, that realization terrified me, because it meant there was still a small part of me that had not completely died yet. The void was still there. The loneliness was still there. The emptiness had not disappeared. But maybe, as long as I could still recognize it, there was still a way back, even if it was slow, even if it was painful, even if I still had no idea how. Because maybe the first step out of darkness is not becoming happy, not suddenly changing, not magically becoming productive, but simply stopping the lies, stopping the act, stopping the escape, even for a moment. Maybe healing does not begin with motivation. Maybe it begins with honesty, the kind of honesty where you finally admit that you are tired, that you are lonely, that you are scared, and that you cannot keep running forever. And maybe that's where everything truly begins. Not from massive hope, not from motivation, but from a small moment of honesty where you finally look at yourself without running away. Because sometimes people do not need a giant light to escape the darkness. Sometimes they only need one small reason to start walking again.